Alright, I've had a couple questions, so I figure I should do an update on the Pelican Bass Raider. This is a 10E NXT. I did a video about a month ago with the first round of mods. And I've done some lighting and a couple other things, so I figure I'll give everybody an update. Put a switch panel in, and I wasn't quite sure where I wanted it. So I 3D printed this pod for it to go into, so I can at least try it in that location before I start cutting holes and everything, and then you're kind of committed to it. Like I said, it's just a 3D printed pod stuck on there with some double-sided tape. Been on there for a couple weeks, don't go anywhere. That's just a little cheap Amazon switch panel. Got the USB ports, everybody knows what that is. So ran that. Currently have the wiring underneath my mat, in the grooves that are down there, taped down good. I got a set of lights, front and rear, either mounted on my T-track, swivelable, adjustable. You can move wherever you want. They're a really, really broad flood. So same thing. I got one up here. Also one up here in the corner. Person in front. Adjust it, move it around. It's pretty neat at night when they turn those on. You can see all the stuff under the water that you don't usually see during the day with the reflection. Printed a couple little caddies here. Holds my cell phone and a couple other doodads, fishing players. Same thing, one up front, and wife can keep her cell phone. Nav lights. I bought the big 12 or 14 inch LED strip. There's really nowhere to put it on here. And if you're actually going to follow the rules where it's supposed to be a 215 degree angle or whatever, you're supposed to be able to see it from the side and the front. Well, if you mount them up here in the front, you can't see them from the side. If you mount them out here on the side, you can't see them from the front. So I just 3D printed a little strap that goes on my rod holders here. And now they're set at an angle, and you can see them from both front and the sides. Again, just cheap Amazon LEDs. Like I said, printed that little strap, just strap them on there like that. That way I'm not drilling any more holes. And the problem with these boats is you come up with an idea and then you start drilling holes and mounting it. Then you take it out 3 or 4 times and you come up with a better idea, but now you're stuck with the holes. And I don't want, I don't want everything all drilled with holes. Like I said, those wires just run down under my mat. They're not in the way. 3D printed some wire keepers. So that's those. And like I said, I got lights, or switches for each one. As far as the nav light, I really didn't want to put the little mast on back like everybody buys off Amazon, sticks back here, because it just gets in the way of everything. I carry 6 rods on here at all times, 4 for me, 2 for the wife. They're up here. I got these little straps. Keeps everything in place for transport. Pop them loose when you need them. I also put some foam in here. Switching these rods, they get kind of bangy and clattery, and had some foam laying around, so cut a couple strips of foam to lay in there, and it's much quieter now. As far as the nav light, I said I didn't want to put this typical arm back here and have that in the way. I put my feet up here when I'm fishing. I face backwards, she faces frontwards, and I always put my feet up behind her, so I didn't want that in the way. So I just mounted it up on top of my trolling motor. There's a little switch over here. Let me plug the trolling motor in, and I'll give you a quick. Trolling motor's also new. We'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I just got a switch up here, and quick and easy nav light. That's the highest point you're gonna make it. I don't have to worry about a mast. These things are cheap and super durable. Like I said, there's just wire running there. It's a switch, taps off the power. It's already going to your motor, and it's actually really bright. Works good at night too when it starts getting dark for retying lures or whatever you're doing. So I had that set up also on the old motor, which is over here. This is the motor I had initially, the 55-pound water snake tracer, just your basic cheap brushed motor, and it works great. I've had absolutely no complaints with it whatsoever. I did end up switching to a the Ninja prop. Ended up switching to this guy, the Motor Guide Katana. That was the best prop I could find. Also tried the Kipwa and a couple others, but on that particular motor, that Motor Guide prop was fantastic, way smoother. And I was going to build an ESC for this, without going down a rabbit hole and getting into the resistors that use on there and why these are not as efficient. I just opted to go for a new brushless motor. See how the head down there is way smaller. So it's a brushless motor, it's got the ESC built in, and you have infinite control here instead of 1 click, 2 clicks. So infinite control, built-in speed controller, and this is actually 65 pounds of thrust. My brush motor was a 54, not a 55. So the old motor was a 54. This is a 65 pounds of thrust, and it's still a sub $300 motor. It's got, you know, an extended handle, and this thing flaps around and makes julienne fries, and you know, it's got a battery meter built in. Not that I would trust that. I'm running a 100 amp hour lithium on here anyway, and I've never come in from a round of fishing with less than 60% of the battery still left. So it's not that I necessarily needed the efficiency, it's just maybe someday I will, and I really hate using a paddle, because unless I'm clubbing somebody over the head, I don't want to be using the paddle for anything. You can just sit there and do nothing. So I haven't had this motor out even yet. It just came in the other day, so I'm going to run it through the gamut, and I'll probably do swap some props on this one and see how this one works and go from there. What else? Lights, switches. Oh, got one of these cheap little 3.5 pound collapsible anchors. And for everything I've done, even in like 10-15 mile an hour winds, the thing works great. Most of the lakes I fish are loaded with weeds and vegetation anyway. So you drop that thing down there, let out 20-30 foot of line, and within 10 minutes it's got about 300 pounds of foliage on it anyway, so it's not going anywhere. This is a scuba dive reel. I ended up picking up one of these for my anchor line because I don't want anchor line all bunched up and laying all over the boat, and these just reel in and out. It's actually the line on there that came with it, and seems to be plenty strong to me and working fine. I just take the other end of it here, typically loop it around one of my mounts, the cleats for the motor, and this I just throw over the side. It's meant to be in the water anyway, so I just toss it over, and it's worked fantastic. It's only 3.5 pounds. When you're transporting these things, strap your seats down. I made probably 3-4 trips, no problem. And then the 5th or 6th trip, buzzing down the road at 60 miles an hour and watched both my seats go flying out and into traffic. Luckily, nobody ran them over. They both had some road rash on them. Nothing but a little spray paint didn't fix. The main thing was these plastic molded hinges on this seat were busted. I mean, just shattered, destroyed. So these new Ergo 360 seats are not the cheapest thing in the world. And I wasn't about to just buy a whole new seat. So I just fabricated a hinge out of some 1/8 inch steel. And works just fine in there, and nobody knows any different. I'm sure it's way stronger in the long run, but I don't recommend not strapping your seats down so you too can build a new hinge that may or may not be stronger. Just put a strap on your seats. And I also put a little reinforcement in here. It's just some 1x1 aluminum angle iron, but it really really beefs that up. I know there's some people who I talked about, if you're a big guy, which I am in that club, that start pushing around 300 pounds and these things will start to bow and bend and whatnot. So I just literally strapped in 2 pieces of 1x1 aluminum in there, and it really, really strengthened it up quite a bit. When I first got this boat, I think I was 305 and I had no problems with the seat. I'm actually down to 270, not that that's a topic for discussion, but yeah, works great. This one up here, the wife's nowhere near as big as I am, so that's a plus. But yeah, if you want a cheap way to strengthen these up, and I said that's just sandwiched and clamped in there. I had to grind it a little bit of relief for the strap on the bottom, but stuff I had laying around costs almost nothing, and I said it's way stronger with almost no extra weight. What else? Fish finder, I think that was already on here before. 3D printed hood just on a ram mount on my rail. I think everything else I covered already. Yeah, well, I will try to remember to do another video after I test out that new motor and run the gamut on props, and we'll go from there. So that should cover all the latest mods and lighting and yada yada. So if you got any questions, let me know. Later. Oh, everyone over the age of 15, I hope, gets this right. Fat guy in a little boat. All right, I'm out.